Hi everybody, this is your guided reading lesson for Monday the 18th of January, and we are starting a new text today, and it's called The Explorer, and it is written by Katherine Rundell. It was written in 2017, it's a fictional story, and I think it's one you're going to like. I've chosen a section which is the chapter 2 section, and I hope you read along with me. So this week we are focusing on this text because I think it's a really great example of text that creates suspense, just like we're focusing on in our English. It's also got so much descriptive writing in it. It really submerges the reader into the setting, which you'll soon see, and it also has a lot of the five senses, which is what I've been asking of you in last week's English, and I'm still asking of you in this week's English. So we're in the second chapter of this book. If it entices you, if you like the sound of it, maybe have a look on Google, have a look on YouTube, and then maybe you might be able to have a look at it on Amazon or buy it at Tesco's. So I'm not too bothered for you to actually buy the book, but maybe have a little research. Maybe it could be on your birthday list or your next wanting list. So here's another YouTube video. It's only a minute long, and it's just a little interview with the author when she talks about the book, because it is quite a new book. It was on one of the best-selling children's list. I would highly recommend reading it. It's really cool. It's a really good fiction story, and yeah, see what you think. Chapter 2. Fred wondered, as he ran, if he was dead. But, he thought, death would surely be quieter. The roar of flames and his own blood vibrated through his hands and feet. The night was black. He tried to heave in a breath to shout for help as he ran, but his throat was too dry and ashy to yell. He jabbed his fingers into the back of his tongue to summon up a spit. "Is anyone there? Help! Fire!" he shouted. The fire called back in response. A tree behind him sent up a fountain of flames. There was a rumble of thunder. Nothing else replied. A burning branch cracked, spat red, and fell in a cascade of sparks. Fred leapt away, stumbling backwards into the dark and smacking his head against something hard. The branch landed exactly where he'd been standing seconds before. He swallowed, the bile that rose in his throat, and began to run again, faster and wilder. Something landed on his chin, and he ducked, smacking at his face, but it was only a raindrop. The rain came suddenly and hard. It turned to soot and sweat on his hands and something like tar, but it began to quench the fire. Fred slowed his run to a jog, then to a stop. Gasping, choking, he looked back the way he had come. The little aeroplane was in the trees. It was smoking, sending up clouds of white and grey into the night sky. He stared around, dizzy and desperate, but he couldn't see or hear a single human. Only the fern-like plants growing around his ankles, and the trees reaching hundreds of feet up into the sky, and the panicked dive and shriek of the birds. He shook his head, hard, trying to banish the shipwreck roar in his ears. The hair on his arms was singed and smelt like eggs. He put his hands to his forehead. His eyebrow had charred, and part of it came away on his fingers. He wiped his eyebrow on his sleeve of the shirt. Fred looked down at himself. One leg of his trousers was ripped, all the way up to the pocket, but none of his bones felt broken. There was a vicious pain through his back and neck, and it made his arms and legs feel far off and foreign. A voice came suddenly from the dark. "Who's there? Get away from us!" Fred spun round. His ears still buzzing, he grabbed a rock from behind the ground and hurled it in the direction of the voice. He ducked behind a tree and crouched on his haunches, poised to jump or run. His heart sounded like a one-man band, and he tried not to exhale. The voice said, "For God's sake, don't throw things." It was a girl's voice. So, I want you to maybe go back through what I've just read to you. Maybe you could put my voice, I bet you're probably sick of it by now, but put that voice on silent and then just pause each PowerPoint screen on your channel as it goes through. I want you to read it. I want you to maybe read it out loud, read it to somebody, and then any words that you don't know, I would like you to write down, okay? I've got a list of some here that I thought maybe some of you won't know and some of you do know. Yours might be different to mine, but I want you to write the list down. On my list, I've got heave, ashy, summon, cascade, bile, tar, quench, desperate, fern-like, banish, singed, charred, vicious, foreign, hurled, and haunches. So pause the video now, have a look through, write down any words you do not know. The next task I want you to do is then have a look on Google, maybe ask a parent if they're around, what do those words mean? I then want you to write the definition next to that vocabulary word, please. Once you've done that, have another read through of that text, because you're going to get questions on it tomorrow to make sure you truly understand it. You've got a good idea of what's happening. Maybe close your eyes and have it read to you from somebody. See what you imagine, see what imagery comes in your head. That's why I like this text so much. It is so vivid, I can really picture it in my head. I can almost smell that charred eyebrow of his. I can almost see and hear the craziness that's going on around him. So I want you to have a go at thinking about it, closing your eyes and really imagining it, so you've got a really good grasp on what this chapter is talking about and where the story is going. So just like we do in class, I've got some images on this slide that match to my vocabulary list on the last slide. So I want you to have a look at those images and see which word matches each image. You can look in your book if you've wrote them down, or you can just reverse back and pause it on the last screen. See if you can match them and see if you really understand what they mean. So by now you should have a list of the vocabulary choices from the text that you might not know or you've never heard of. You should have a definition. For an extension, maybe you could put them into a new sentence. And that's your guided reading lesson for today. Tomorrow we're going to be answering questions on the text. The text is also uploaded to Dojo as a PDF, so if you want to print it, you can do, to underline those words. Or if you just want to make it a little bit clearer on your screen, you can do that as well. Thank you.